Evening, gentlemen. Before we get started here, I just wanted to say that there is some news. I don't know if it'll be good or bad yet, but there's some news on the topic of that Genesis PC board for the PS2 Model 25. The guy that I bought this system from found just the planar, the bottom part of another PS2 Model 25 that had one of these boards in it, and the one that he found, this other board, is way worse than this one was as far as battery leakage. But he said he would sell it to me, so I bought the whole thing. It comes with an Ethernet card and another hard drive and another disk drive, which will be handy parts regardless. I don't know for sure, but even if I can't salvage this other board, you know, I'll have the riser, I'll have another BIOS ROM, everything that I can start swapping parts into this board, and maybe we can figure out what the problem with this sucker is. Anyway, it has been too long since I've farted around with that lovely beast, that TRS-80 Model 2. So let's go ahead and rebuild the keyboard. So I did end up being stupid and boring and just bought pre-made keyboard foams to do this with from Texelec, and they were very nice about it. I really enjoyed doing business with them. Like, they're not paying me to say this or anything, but I was very happy with the customer service and the promptness of, and just the general niceness of the people that I dealt with there. So I had them send me two sets. I've also got a Sun Type 4 keyboard over there that still works, but it has the same mechanism, so one of these days I'm going to have to rebuild it too. But yeah, after I was really seriously considering trying to make my own with Mylar foil and making a punch and all this stuff, and I got to reading on Texelec's blog, and they have gone through several rounds making these foams, improving them, getting just the right foam and just the right foil so that everything works right. And after reading how much more complicated it actually seems to be to select the right materials than I figured it would be, I decided that I'd just buy them from somebody that knew what they were doing instead of fucking around, punching out little pieces of foam until my carpal tunnel wanted to make me like shoot myself, and then having it not work and having to like actually buy them anyway. So yeah, maybe we'll try to make some anyway here at some point, but it's dark outside and there's like a foot of snow on the ground, so I'm not going to go out and try to punch little foams out, and I'm certainly not going to do that inside because I'll have it everywhere. We'll also have to empty a cartridge case to make a punch for these. But I've found the exact cartridge case that will make the perfect punch, by the way. 8x57 JR. Yeah. Not JRS. JR. I think there's only one company in the world that still makes that ammunition, and they're in France. So, yeah. I do have a bunch because I've got a drilling in that caliber, though. I'll have to show that to you sometime. It's pretty fucking sweet. 16 gauge side by side over a 8x57 JR rifle barrel. Heavily engraved. Beautiful, beautiful piece of art. Anyway, but if you missed some of the earlier videos on the Model 2, you'll recall that it got like completely thrashed in shipping, like busted to pieces, all fucked up. So the top part of the keyboard wasn't harmed, fortuitously, and none of the keys were broken, which is really fucking surprising, but very fortunate. But the bottom part of the keyboard got smashed into several pieces, and I JB welded it all back together sometime back, and I still have a little bit of work to do on this. I'm just doing it the same way you do auto body work and shit like that. So I need to use a little bit more filler here and sand it with a finer grit sandpaper, and then we'll paint it, and everything will be happy. But it's the middle of winter, and there's a bunch of snow on the ground, and I don't want the paint to run and shit like that, so we're not going to paint this thing anytime soon. I'm just going to put it back together like this, and then sometime this spring, when it warms up, I'll take it all back apart again and finish this part. I don't know, I may just leave the whole thing like this. The sticker's turned yellow, and there's no way to fix that without like completely destroying it, so I don't know, maybe I'll just get it working and let it be ugly. I mean, I'm kinda torn. Part of me wants to make it brand new again, you know what I'm saying? But the other part of me thinks it's kinda legit the way it is, you know what I'm saying? Like honest wear and shit like that, right? So what do you guys think? Should I try to make it all pretty, or should I just make it mechanically and electrically functional and leave the aesthetics as they are? So here are all the plungers, and there's a spring that goes down over top of this, and then the key cap latches down into this white part, and the spring pushes up on the keycap against this base here, and then the foil, that foil disc, goes down in here, and it just latches in on these. See those four little fingers around the outside? It just kind of like those just hold it in there and push it down against the capacitative thingaroos. Here are the keycaps. As you can see, they are very badly yellowed. That's not just dirt. I mean, they are filthy too, but I cleaned up a couple just to see, and this what looks like just dirt on top, that darker area, that's actually like ABS yellowing. So I don't know. Retro Bright isn't permanent. They'll just get yellow again, and it's a pain in the ass, so fuck it, I'll just leave them how they are. If the rest of the keyboard's going to be ugly until spring, there isn't enough sun to Retro Bright right now anyway, so if we decide to do it, we can do it then, but you can see it's pretty yellow. I mean, look at the text, the color of the text on the inner key there, and then flip it over and look at the actual color of the plastic where it hasn't been exposed to the sun. Actually, it doesn't look near as bad on camera, but boy, you can tell it just looking at it. Look at that space bar. Hell, that's the color it's supposed to be. This is the color it actually is. Oh well. Yeah, I found our festive Christmas tin that I put the springs in, and of course they will probably all be twisted together now, and I'll have a real fun time separating them. But yeah, there are the springs. All of those discs, the Mylar discs that came out of it before. As you can see, there is no silver left on those, and the foam just, I mean, when you touch it, it just turns into dust. But that's the same kind of open cell foam that the replacements are made with, aside from being a different color. So hopefully everything will be rock and roll. Alright, pardon me. First order of business, I guess, is to put all of these back, since I got everything cleaned up. Alright, so apparently I didn't take a picture of the orientation of every single one of these, but most of them go with the rating facing up. I know that because of the positioning of the hole. But one of them, I don't remember which one, goes in sideways, and as a result, I'm going to put each key switch back together before it goes into the board, because I'll be able to catch which one goes in sideways based on how the clips in the bottom of the keycap, can you see that? Based on how the clips in the bottom of the keycap fit into the are oriented to fit into the plunger thing. So we'll take a spring and stick it over top. Make sure the text is up. We'll take our key and clean it, which I forgot to do because I'm a dumb son of a bitch. Wonder how many of those I'll miss. Yeah, that's not one of the wrecks that had vinegar on it. We don't want that. So it's the usual boring ass shit with Windex. So you know what fun cleaning keys is. I'm sure if you've ever done it before. There it's cleanified, and then it just snaps down into that white part like that, and it takes a little bit of a push, and there's our key reassembled, and the foam goes down in here, but we'll put that in here in a little bit. And then it should just snap down into the square spot on the thingaroo. Good as new. Yes, sir. And I'll do this for every other switch. It's fortuitous that the Matt Christensen podcast is on this evening, so I'll have something to do while I engage in this super fun keyboard cleaning extravaganza. Have I mentioned that the cleaning of the old computers is my least favorite part? I love farting around with the hardware and making stuff and fixing things and stuff like that, and I really like screwing around with software and stuff like that, but I hate cleaning the crap and retrobrating the stuff and all of that fiddly, mindless stuff. I mean, if you're into that, cool. I'm not trying to be judgmental or anything, but oh Lord, it's not something that I am very fond of, and I am missing the 0 key. I'll have to dig that. I must have missed it in my box. Anyway, I'll do all this and I'll be back someday. Alright, there we go. That was a pain in the ass, but it's all clean and happy and put together right. And it was the enter key on the keypad that was sideways. Everything else was cool. We got everything good. I had a minor fuck up with this thing that holds this key spacebar straightening contraption-aroo here. A little plastic tab broke off of it when I was trying to put it back in there. The fit is very tight on these two, and I probably didn't actually have to take those out. So if you're following along and fixing your own keyboard, well, maybe you shouldn't take these out. That broke without much pressure. But with the magic of super glue and a little bit of JB Weld here on the inside, I think once it all sets, it'll be fine. And for the moment, the spring pressure of the space bar is holding everything together, along with this little folded up piece of paper. So as soon as all that sets, that little piece of paper will come out and everything will be good as new. Happy day. So yeah, now we've got our foils to put in. Great fun. And they just go down in and, oh, pardon me, they just go down in, and the bottom plastic piece clips underneath of those little doohickeys in the bottom, and that's all there is to it. That's a hell of a lot more pleasant than cleaning all those keycaps. Alright, that bullshit is done with. Let's clean up the board and put the sucker back together. Time for the screws to go back in. Alright, we are getting places. Let's see how she feels, boys. Ooh. Ooh. It's a Keytronic keyboard, which means it kind of sucks, but, you know, it's not bad. That thing was all busted out of there when I got the thing, obviously. I may have to file that hole out a little bit to get that connector to snap back in there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just let this hang out for the moment. I need to clean up some of this hole to get it to fit right, but it can just hang out back there for now. So we gotta get this thing in. And then that should plug in there. Very good. And then da 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 da. Oh yeah, boy. Oh yeah, boy. Oh yeah, boy. It's a slightly worse for wear. Oh, Model 2 keyboard, my baby. Now we gotta get the screws in, if I can even find them. It's been so long since I took this thing apart. Alright, boys. It lives. At least I assume it lives. I think I'll get new rubber feet for it. These do not look very appetizing. Well, gentlemen, it is a glorious, glorious day. The keyboard is working as it should. Everything is happy and keen. I had a little bit of a problem though. I started trying to boot the thing after I got it off of the shelf over there, and I kept getting seek errors, and it was telling me to reboot and weird stuff like that, and I was like, what the heck, man? So I got on the old Discord channels, and Mr. Kent, who's a gentleman and a scholar, I think he used to be a Tandy engineer, like one of the head honchos, so if anybody knows the deal, it'd be him. But he said, well, we troubleshot for a while, and I said, well, the only thing that's different is I don't have I took the 8-inch disk drive out, but it wasn't plugged into data anyway. And he's like, oh, you have to have the power cable plugged into that, because if the 24-volt line on the disk drive isn't loaded, the switching power supply doesn't start up right, and your 5-volt line won't be stable. So that's what was wrong. I plugged the DC power cable back into the frickin' 8-inch disk drive, and she booted right up. It's the damnedest thing. So yeah, everything's rocking and rolling now. We got a keyboard, boys. Hot shit. Alright, very exciting. So now that we have a working keyboard and a working Model 2 with a working disk drive emulator, even though it'd be nice to get the 8-inch disk drive working. Pardon me. Talk about that in a second. We're a step closer to having Xenix running on Model 2. Very, very exciting. So let's examine some stuff. So here is a Motorola 68K CPU card. This is one of the older 6 megahertz dog ear cards. This is the first version of these, and these out of the box, these only support Xenix 1. They won't run Xenix 3 because they don't do some kind of burst mode, but this is a set of conversion pals along with some fly wires and shit, which will convert these older 68K boards to use the burst mode so we can run Xenix 3.3. There's a patched version of 3.2 that doesn't use burst mode that'll run on these, but as far as I know, you have to have burst mode to run Xenix 3.3, and that's the one we want. because it's got the virtual terminals and all the cool shit that is cool. So that'll be the CPU card to run Xenix on, and then of course we'll have to have a hard drive to install Xenix on, and ideally I'd like to have a Type 4 hard drive controller, because they're entirely internal on a card and there isn't any fuckery involved with those. But those are impossible to find, but Ian Maverick in Australia makes a replica Type 2 hard drive controller, which can be had, but you have to supply the controller board for the actual hard drive bubble to it. This is an 8X300 MFM bubble controller. So this would plug into the Type 2 hard drive controller, and this has to go somewhere in the machine, and the only place, unless we just hang it off externally or something somewhere, the only place that I can see that this big bastard will fit is where the 8-inch disk drive is. So I'd have to make a bracket with some standoffs on it, and then I can mount this thing inside the machine there, and it'll plug between the Type 2 HDC and some kind of MFM emulator, like the PDP-8 online emulator, or the DRIM or something like that. So yeah, I've got two of these now. One of them has an old Radio Shack repair tag in that says no symptoms, so I don't know what that means. But these both came from the estate of Frank Durda, apparently, and it's quite an honor to have equipment with that provenance going into the machine. So that's pretty cool. So hopefully between the two of these, one of them will work, and we'll be rocking and rolling. You know what I'm saying? But in addition to the hard drive and the CPU card, the 68K card uses separate RAM too. I've got a couple of RAM cards here. So this one's fully populated. This is a 256K card, I believe. And this one here is partially populated. I believe this is a 128K card, and it has these cool TC marked ceramic RAM chips on them, which it's beautiful, man. Like I want to frame it and put it on my wall, seriously. It's such a beautiful card. And dude, you sent me these for free. Stuff is worth real money, man. I feel like I've taken advantage of your generosity, so I'm gonna send you back something one of these days, as soon as I come across something worth sending to you. So keep your peepers peeled on your mailbox at some point. I think once I get that Z80 Funtime project doing something useful and booting operating systems and shit, I'll wire wrap one for you and send it to you. That'll be fun, right? So anyway, yeah, there's a cable that I'm missing that goes between the CPU card, these pin headers on the CPU card, and these edge connectors on the RAM cards. And even though it has a connector for the Z80 bus on it, my understanding is that it only draws power off of that connector, and it doesn't actually interface to the Z80 bus in any way. There's some way that the 68K can share 32K segments with the Z80. That's how it does that's how it sends messages back and forth between the CPUs, because the Z80, when it's running in 68K mode, acts as an I/O processor. So it uses that 32K shared memory space to pass messages between the two CPUs. But I guess I guess that's just all done by the CPU card. So I guess to continue, I'm going to have to find or make some cables to plug the 68K card into one or both of the RAM cards, and I'll have to get a Type 2 hard drive controller. I'll have to get some kind of MFM hard drive emulator. I'll have to get the cables to connect that to the big boy board down here. One of these days, my friends, we will be able to join and breathe the rarefied air with the people who have working TRS Xenix systems. I don't know how many there are in the world, but I don't think there are very many. So this is very interesting. Alright. See you next time. Thanks for joining me.